Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Impetigore, an Indonesian horror film from 2019 that was directed by Joko Anwar. Now, I previously reviewed some of Anwar's older horror films on this channel. The Forbidden Door and Modus Anomaly were reviewed in my Asian Horror Year in Review playlist, while Satan's Slaves was reviewed in a separate video. Now, all three of these movies are worth watching, but how does Impetigore stack up against them? Let's find out. So, down on her luck, Maya learns that she may inherit a house in her ancestral village. The problem is that some of the members of the village community want her dead because they believe the village to be cursed and that her death will remove the curse. So Maya returns to the village under a different identity with her loyal best friend in order to unravel the complicated truth of her past, but she finds herself fighting for her life, of course. Now, I'm a big fan of Joko Anwar. Anytime I have the opportunity to watch one of his movies, I immediately watch it. This guy is a master of style. First of all, we get some high-quality, effective direction and camera work. He knows how to ramp up the tension and create disorientation for the viewer. For example, there's a scene where a girl is hanging upside down, and I love how the camera rotates around her. It's a really cool camera shot. You'll know when it happens. Very stylish. The forest village setting provides a hot, tribal environment with overgrown plants everywhere, even inside the abandoned house. Like, on their way to this secluded village, our protagonist and her friend take like a horse and buggy ride, and you see like the moss growing on the side of the road and stuff. Also, the types of trees are different as well. It seems to be specific to the region. So this is the kind of natural environments that you get, and it's pretty cool. The architecture of the buildings is a little bit different from what I typically see. Some of the houses have roofs that look like giant hats, for lack of a better term. I'm a sucker for odd architecture, or different architecture than I typically see, and I found some of the structures in this film to be pretty interesting to watch as well. So all of this creates a really nice atmosphere, both during the day scenes and the night scenes. Now, the lamps at night have this orangish, yellowish hue, which I'm a fan of, so you get some atmosphere there. Sound design and scoring are impressive as well. So aesthetically, this movie's top-notch. Impetigore is deliberately paced, I would say, but I was engaged with the film the entire time. I mean, the horror scenes are spaced out nicely, and the characters in the story work as well. I like the protagonist. I think the actress did a nice job. This character has a personality and a certain likability that kind of rubs off on you. That's important for holding my interest. I also like the idea of secretly going back to your hometown to find out what happened there, all the while knowing that there may be some people there that want you dead. That's a pretty cool premise for a horror film. And that premise helps to maintain a certain level of tension, even during the quieter moments. Some of the suspense is driven by the villagers asking questions because they're suspicious of why these two women are visiting this desolate village. The girls say that they're doing research on desolate villages, but you don't know how long that excuse is going to last, right? The film does deliver well on the scares. The opening sequence at a toll booth is a highlight. It starts the movie off with a bang. There's a fake-out scare that is done very well. I usually hate those types of scares or scenes, but here, it was actually pretty fantastic. It totally caught me off guard, and it's not a jump scare. So that's bonus points. So I like that scene. And I briefly mentioned the upside-down hanging scene, which is solid. There's also a very quiet scene that occurs a few minutes after that that's pretty disturbing, with its implications, I guess you could say. Some of these scenes do get pretty violent, and bloody, and they certainly have a certain intensity to them. But I do not think that this movie is excessively violent. It has its gory moments, for sure, but the scares are kind of a blend of atmospheric chills, suspense, and a few death scenes. But it's not all unicorns and rainbows. I do have a few problems with this film. The lesser problem of the two is that there are a few flashback scenes, the first of which is kind of just a data dump with narration over it. It does make sense in the context of the story, because the viewer is in the same situation as the protagonist, who is also ignorant of the village's history, so the communication of that information makes sense. But the way that it's communicated feels a little bit forced and over-explanatory. Now, there's a second flashback in the film that's way more interesting and effective, because it's more like a fever dream. You'll know what it is when it happens, and it uses visuals instead of narration to tell the story, and it works a lot better, and it's actually kind of creepy. I think they could have maybe restructured or rewritten that first flashback to be a little bit more fluid and interesting. Really kind of like my biggest problem with the movie, and it's not even that huge, but it is a problem, is that the ending just feels kind of like an anticlimax a little bit. You know, it's pretty good, but it could have been better. You know, I think a longer lasting crescendo to the conflict would have been more satisfying, at least to me. You know, the way the conflict is resolved just seemed maybe a little bit too easy, in my opinion. So, but overall, I think Impetigore is a very good horror film. It's another fine effort from Joko Anwar. But at this point, you know, I really don't think he's ever going to match or top The Forbidden Door, which is the best film I've seen from him. Okay? Someone in the United States needs to distribute that movie. Please. Just anyone. Okay? Release The Forbidden Door. It is his best film. I think I saw it on YouTube like 10 years ago, and I haven't had a chance to even watch it since then. So, and it's not on YouTube anymore. Need to release that movie. But, yeah, Impetigore is a good one. It's available on Shudder in the United States. And as always, I'll see you next time.